At 71, Jackie Slater finally reached a point in his life where the memories no longer needed to be filtered. They no longer had to be softened for television interviews or reshaped into friendly anecdotes for alumni dinners. At 71, the man who spent 2 full decades protecting quarterbacks with silent fury decided to reveal the reality that shaped him. Behind the gold jacket, behind the gentle smile, behind the reputation as the most respected lineman of his era, there were truths he carried alone for years. Truths about rivalries that hardened him, betrayals that changed him, and moments the league never wanted to discuss again. For 20 years, he played through an age defined by violence, chaos, shifting power, and relentless expectation. He stood on the line as teammates came and went, as coaches rose and fell, and as the league transformed from raw brutality to polished spectacle. Yet, through every era, Jackie Slater endured. He survived because he understood something few players ever do. That greatness is never built on talent alone. It is carved through conflict, sharpened through anger, and sealed by truths a man never forgets. Tonight, those truths finally come to light. Because the real Jackie Slater was not only a technician with impossible discipline, he was a survivor of hidden wars that shaped every step of his 20-year career. What were the hidden truths that defined him so deeply? Why did a man known for dignity hold memories carved from fire? And how did those moments shape the legacy that still follows him today? Jackie Slater entered the National Football League with a presence that was impossible to overlook. He was not loud. He was not showy. He did not chase attention or create headlines. Instead, he brought something far more intimidating: a disciplined silence that told everyone around him that he was there to work, to fight, and to last. When he first stepped onto an NFL practice field in the mid-1970s, he carried the weight of a young man who understood exactly how narrow the path to survival truly was. The game demanded pain. The game demanded sacrifice. Jackie embraced both without hesitation. He played offensive tackle for the Los Angeles Rams during a period when the team experienced dramatic shifts in direction. New coaches arrived with new philosophies. Quarterbacks rose and fell under pressure. The league introduced new rules that changed the rhythm of the trenches. Through all of it, Jackie remained constant. He trained with a precision that teammates admired and opponents feared. Every movement was deliberate. Every step was calculated. He understood leverage and timing with a mastery few linemen possessed. The Rams relied on him as the years passed. They trusted his discipline. They trusted his ability to neutralize the most dangerous defenders of every era. He played through seasons when the Rams were contenders. He played through seasons when they struggled. Yet he never changed his approach. His identity was built on durability. He learned to stay calm in chaos. He learned to adapt even when the system around him shifted in ways he could not control. But Jackie Slater's story was not defined only by technique or longevity. It was shaped by the emotional storms happening behind the scenes. He experienced conflicts no camera ever captured. He faced players who tested him. He clashed with coaches who challenged him. He lived through years when the organization he served so loyally made decisions that forced him to question everything he believed about loyalty. Those moments created fractures beneath the surface. They formed the foundation for the hidden truths he carries today. During his early seasons, Jackie learned that respect in the NFL was not given. It had to be earned through bruises and silence. Veterans pushed him. Opponents targeted him. Coaches demanded perfection. By the time he became a cornerstone of the offense, he had already endured battles that would have broken most players. The pressure forged him into a leader teammates relied on during the darkest stretches of the season. As the Rams changed cities, changed identities, and changed expectations, Jackie Slater continued to represent an older version of football, a version built on grit technique and emotional resilience. He remained the steady force that held the line together. Yet beneath that steady force existed a private archive of rivalries, disappointments, and hard truths that shaped him long before the Hall of Fame ever called his name. Those truths are the ones he finally reveals. Lawrence Taylor entered the league like a natural disaster. He played with an energy that felt reckless to anyone watching from the sideline, yet precise to anyone facing him across the line of scrimmage. Jackie Slater knew from the first moment he saw Taylor on film that this was not a normal defender. Taylor was faster than most running backs, stronger than many linemen, and carried a brand of violence that did not wait for the snap. He hunted. He stalked. He looked at offensive tackles as challenges rather than obstacles. For Jackie, facing him meant stepping into a storm designed to test every part of his technique and every part of his pride. In the early 1980s, the Rams were fighting to stay competitive, while the Giants were building an identity around Taylor's fury. Jackie had neutralized great pass rushers before. He understood leverage, hand placement, and balance with a mastery few could match. But Taylor changed the rules. He attacked angles no defender had ever tried. He bent around the corner with speed that forced tackles to cheat their stance. He played with a level of intensity that turned every snap into a collision with consequences. Jackie knew that a single misstep could give Taylor the moment he needed to destroy a play or a quarterback. Their clashes grew legendary in film rooms. Coaches paused the tape and studied how Jackie anchored his feet, how he reset his hands, how he refused to panic even when Taylor came exploding off the edge. But off camera, those battles carried deeper weight. Taylor represented everything the league feared at that time. He was uncontrollable. He was unpredictable. He was the embodiment of chaos. And for Jackie Slater, whose entire career was built on discipline and control, facing Taylor felt like facing the very force that threatened the identity of offensive line play itself. The moment that defined their rivalry came during a cold afternoon when the Rams desperately needed stability. Taylor had spent the first half dismantling protections and overwhelming double teams. The stadium pulsed with tension every time he lined up wide. Jackie knew the Rams could not survive unless he found a way to slow the storm. So he shifted his stance, changed his hand timing, and used every technical lesson he had learned over a lifetime of study. On one critical play, Taylor launched himself at full speed, expecting Jackie to retreat. Instead, Jackie struck first, locking Taylor's inside shoulder and driving him off his line. It was a small victory in a long war, but it changed the entire rhythm of the game. It was the moment Jackie proved that technique could survive fury, that intelligence could withstand violence. Even so, the rivalry carved something permanent in him. Taylor pushed him further than any defender ever had. He made Jackie question whether discipline alone was enough in a league becoming more violent by the year. He made Jackie evolve in ways he never expected. Taylor forced him to become more than a technician. He forced him to become a survivor. The cold truth is that Jackie Slater never fully forgot the feeling of facing Lawrence Taylor. He respected him. He admired his power. But deep down, he carried the memory of those collisions as reminders that greatness is never comfortable and survival is never guaranteed. The rivalry never disappeared. It lived quietly inside him long after the final whistle. Charles Haley was the kind of defender who seemed fueled by something deeper than competition. His rage felt personal. His intensity felt volcanic. Opponents looked at him and saw a man who refused to be contained by schemes or assignments. Jackie Slater saw something even more dangerous, a player who combined rare athletic ability with an emotional volatility that could shift a game with a single snap. Haley played with a fury that left teammates uneasy and offensive linemen uncomfortable. He did not simply try to beat the man across from him. He tried to break him. When Haley began terrorizing offensive lines in the late 1980s, Jackie was already a veteran. He had faced legends. He had faced prodigies. He had faced men who wanted to dominate him. But Haley was different. He attacked with a chaos that made preparation feel incomplete. Film study revealed a defender who switched speed to power without warning. He rushed wide when you expected him inside. He collapsed the pocket with a spin move on plays where he had shown bull rush 10 times before. He did not allow patterns. He refused predictability. The Rams needed stability during those seasons. Their offense depended on rhythm and timing, and Haley's presence shattered both. Jackie knew that if he lost control of even one snap, Haley would exploit it with a violence that shifted momentum instantly. The emotional temperature of the game changed whenever Haley's shadow moved across the edge of the formation. Even players not assigned to block him felt the pressure his presence created. One of the most defining clashes between them came during a crucial matchup when the Rams were fighting to revive their season. Haley lined up wide shoulders, low eyes burning with intention. Jackie recognized the stance. Haley wanted to force him into overreacting, to bait him into opening his hips too early to turn technique into panic. Instead, Jackie stayed patient, waited one heartbeat longer than comfort allowed, then struck at the exact moment Haley committed to the edge. The collision echoed across the field. Jackie held his ground. Haley roared in frustration and returned to the huddle with fury simmering beneath the surface. But Haley was not finished. In the second half, he switched from speed to pure power. He charged directly at Jackie using leverage that felt unnatural for a man of his size. Jackie absorbed the hit, anchored, and restored the pocket. Yet the impact rattled him more than he ever admitted. For the first time in years, he felt the sensation of someone trying to reach inside his technique and tear it apart. Haley did not just test his body, he tested his identity. Their rivalry deepened over time. Jackie respected Haley, but he also understood the danger he represented. Haley played as though football was a battlefield, and every snap was a personal confrontation. For a disciplined technician like Jackie Slater, who built his entire career on calm precision, Haley represented the dark side of the profession, the side driven by rage, emotion, and unpredictability. The cold truth is that Charles Haley forced Jackie to confront his own limits. Haley made him realize that longevity is not only about talent, discipline, or intelligence. It is about surviving opponents who try to turn the game into something primal. Jackie endured those battles. He won many. He lost some. But each clash left a mark. Haley became one of the rare players Jackie could never forget because he reminded him that even legends must face storms they cannot fully prepare for. Reggie White carried a presence that felt almost mythic. Offensive linemen often spoke about him with a mixture of respect and quiet dread. Jackie Slater understood that sentiment better than most. When White entered the league, he brought with him a combination of power, grace, and spiritual conviction that made him unlike any other defender. He was known as the Minister of Defense, a man who could deliver sermons off the field and devastation on it. For Jackie, Reggie White represented a challenge unlike anything he had faced in his long career. White's strength was legendary, even among professionals. Players who prided themselves on power left games against him with doubts that lingered long after their bruises faded. His signature move, the hump, was a violent act of physics that sent full-grown linemen flying sideways, like driftwood caught in a tide they never saw coming. Jackie built his career on balance and body control, yet even he felt the gravitational pull of Reggie White's hands. Facing him required not only physical readiness, but emotional steadiness. Reggie could shift the momentum of a game with a single play, and Jackie knew it. Their early battles were physical chess matches. Jackie tried to neutralize White's initial burst by striking early. Sometimes it worked, but when it did not, he felt the unmistakable force of a defender who played with an authority that made the field feel smaller. White had a way of crowding space, taking away angles, and forcing offensive linemen to abandon the comfort of their technique. Jackie spent hours studying film, looking for hints in Reggie's stance, searching for patterns in his first step, but White refused predictability. He was a master of adaptation. One of the most defining moments of their rivalry came during a high-pressure game. when both teams were fighting to stay in the playoff race. The air felt tight with urgency. Jackie understood that the Rams could not win unless he contained White. Midway through the second quarter, Reggie shifted his alignment slightly inside something he rarely did against Jackie. It was a subtle message. He was testing a new angle, searching for a weakness Jackie had never revealed. The ball snapped. White dipped his shoulder, exploded upward, and attempted to launch the hump move that had broken so many linemen before. Jackie anticipated it, locked his hands under White's frame, and redirected the surge. It was not a dominant victory, but it was a survival moment. A moment when the game stopped feeling like football and started feeling like endurance. But White was relentless. Later in the game, he switched strategies, attacking with a pure bull rush that felt like a collapsing wall. Jackie held, but the strain traveled through his ribs and into his spine. Those collisions stayed with him for days. White forced him to confront the limits of what 2 decades in the trenches could withstand. This was not anger. This was not chaos. It was controlled devastation, delivered by a man whose presence felt ordained. The cold truth is that Reggie White made Jackie Slater question his own strength more than any defender he faced. Not because Jackie was unprepared, but because White embodied a standard that challenged everything Jackie believed about dominance and resilience. Their rivalry was built on mutual respect, but it left Jackie with the understanding that even the most disciplined lineman must sometimes stand in front of a force that feels larger than the sport itself. Howie Long carried himself with a confidence that felt carved from stone. He was not the loudest voice on the Raiders' defense, yet his presence spoke volumes. He moved with the certainty of a man who understood every inch of his craft. For Jackie Slater, that made him one of the most complicated opponents he ever faced. Long did not rely on chaos or fury. His power came from precision. His violence hid beneath technique. He understood leverage angles and timing with an intelligence that forced even the best tackles to rethink their fundamentals. During the 1980s, the Rams and Raiders shared a regional proximity that only heightened their clashes. These were not ordinary games. They carried a territorial energy, a sense of pride and identity. Jackie had spent years mastering his position through discipline and repetition. Howie Long met him with a skill set that felt engineered in a laboratory. Long could win with speed. He could win with power. He could shift from finesse to aggression in the span of a single heartbeat. Jackie prepared obsessively when facing him because any lapse invited punishment. Howie's technique was the first thing that struck Jackie. He fired off the line with a pad level that was almost unnatural. His hands struck like steel clamps that gripped, redirected, and controlled. Jackie had seen brute force before. He had seen speed. But Long's ability to merge both into a cohesive, intelligent assault made him one of the few defenders who could pressure even the most disciplined lineman. Jackie needed perfection to counter him. Anything less created the kind of vulnerability that Long exploited with quiet ruthlessness. Their most memorable battle unfolded during a late-season matchup with playoff implications. The stadium was split between Rams blue and Raiders silver, a constant rumble of anticipation pushing through the air. Jackie lined up, eyes fixed on Long, studying the shift in his weight. Long crouched lower than usual, tilting his shoulders slightly inside. Jackie recognized the signal. Long wanted to test his anchor with a power rush, disguised as a speed move. The ball snapped. Long exploded forward with straight-line intensity, driving his hands into Jackie's chest. Jackie absorbed it, reset his feet, and redirected the surge. It was a test of pure strength, a collision between two men who understood that the outcome of this single snap could influence the emotional temperature of the entire game. As the game progressed, Long adjusted. He began attacking with inside counters, using his famous club move to destabilize Jackie's balance. Jackie responded with footwork he had refined over 2 decades. He anticipated angles cut off space and refused to panic when Long tried to turn technical mastery into psychological pressure. Their duel became a study in patience. Neither man showed frustration. Neither man revealed weakness. It was a confrontation defined by intelligence rather than anger. When the final whistle blew, Jackie knew he had survived something rare. Howie Long was not merely a great player. He was a thinking defender, someone who transformed the trench into a battlefield of strategy. Facing him forced Jackie to evolve even late in his career. Long demanded perfection. He demanded composure. He demanded respect. The cold truth is that Howie Long represented the one opponent who mirrored Jackie Slater's own philosophy. Both men believed in technique. Both believed in study. Both believed in discipline. And that is why the battles between them left Jackie with a memory that stayed long after retirement. Long reminded him that greatness is not built solely on physical strength. It is defined by the ability to match minds with someone who knows exactly how to break you. Chris Dolman was the kind of defender who made silence feel heavy. He did not roar before the snap. He did not feed off chaos or rely on intimidation. He stood still, eyes calm, shoulders relaxed as if the violence of the next moment belonged to another world. But when the ball moved, he transformed into something far more terrifying than noise or rage. He became pure efficiency. He wasted nothing. He revealed nothing. That is what made him the most unsettling opponent Jackie Slater ever faced. Dolman possessed a rare blend of length, speed, and calculation. He was not wild. He did not guess. He processed angles like a machine. Offensive linemen who relied on power struggled against him because he used their momentum against them. Linemen who relied on finesse struggled because he forced them into uncomfortable spaces. Jackie Slater, with 20 seasons of experience, recognized greatness early. But Dolman presented a challenge that felt like a direct assault on the foundation Jackie spent a lifetime building. Their clashes came during years when the Rams were fighting for identity and stability. The Vikings had built a defense that looked engineered for destruction, and Dolman stood at the center of it. He could line up wide, daring tackles to overextend. He could shift inside collapsing pockets before quarterbacks completed their drop. Every snap against him felt like a conversation in a language few understood. He made linemen think too much. He made them hesitate. And hesitation was death. One matchup in particular stayed with Jackie long after retirement. It was late in the season, the kind of game where the margins felt razor thin, and the atmosphere carried a pressure that lived between every heartbeat. Jackie studied Dolman all week. He examined every tilt of his hips, every placement of his feet, every timing variation in his get-off. Yet, when the game began, Dolman revealed adjustments that did not show up on film. He altered his first step. He masked his intentions. He used his long reach to disrupt Jackie's strike point before Jackie could anchor. On a critical third down, Dolman attacked with a wide speed rush. Jackie mirrored him, expecting the bend. But halfway through the arc, Dolman shifted direction with an inside counter so sharp it felt like a blade. Jackie recovered in time, but only because instinct took over. His feet responded before thought. He placed his hands with precision, learned through decades of repetition. He stopped the play, but the moment rattled him. It was the kind of move that revealed how much of the game lived in the space between anticipation and reality. Dolman exploited that space better than anyone Jackie ever faced. As the game progressed, the emotional weight of their duel grew heavier. Dolman did not tire. His face showed no frustration, no satisfaction, no hint of self-doubt. Jackie, who prided himself on emotional control, found himself wrestling not with fear but with a quiet understanding. Dolman represented the future of the league, longer, faster, colder, a generation that approached the trench with scientific calculation rather than raw fury. Jackie respected it, but he also felt the shadow of time pressing against him. The cold truth is that Chris Dolman forced Jackie Slater to confront his own mortality as a player. Dolman was not just an opponent. He was a mirror reflecting the evolution of the game Jackie spent his life mastering. Their battles were less about dominance and more about survival. Jackie survived many of them, but he walked away knowing that Dolman changed something in him forever. Kevin Green was a different kind of threat. Unlike the controlled precision of Reggie White or the calculated coldness of Chris Dolman Green, brought a raw emotional energy that flooded the field the moment he appeared on the edge. He carried the look of a man who had stepped into the league with a single mission: chase, attack, devour. Jackie Slater never underestimated him, not for a second. Green moved with a hungry intensity that made even veteran linemen feel the pressure long before the snap. Their clashes arrived during the years when Green transformed from a promising talent into a relentless pass-rushing force. He attacked with a flexible bend that defied physics. His first step came like a strike of lightning. His effort never dropped. He chased plays far beyond the pocket, refusing to allow tackles the luxury of recovery. For Jackie, this posed a unique challenge. Green did not slow down. He did not conserve energy. He rushed every snap with the same urgency, as if each moment defined his career. One particular game carved itself into Jackie's memory. The Rams needed a stabilizing presence, and Jackie was that anchor. Green attacked wide, leaning so sharp around the edge that his body almost brushed the turf. Jackie mirrored him, matching angles, cutting off space, and absorbing each burst of momentum. The snap after snap battle became a test of endurance. Green's persistence forced Jackie to dig into reserves that only decades of experience could provide. He held the line, but every rep felt like a reminder that young lions always arrive with something to prove. The cold truth is that Kevin Green represented the endless pressure of the next generation. He made Jackie Slater fight for every inch, every moment, every breath. And long after the game ended, Jackie remembered him as the challenger who refused to stop coming. Jackie Slater's legacy is often described with simple phrases: longevity, discipline, loyalty. But those words barely scratch the surface of what he endured across 2 full decades in the National Football League. His career was not a clean story, shaped only by victories or gentle respect. It was a long, grinding march through storms that tested him on physical, emotional, and personal levels. Those storms were the battles he fought against men like Lawrence Taylor, Charles Haley, Reggie White, Howie Long, and Chris Dolman. Each one carved a different truth into him. Each one forced him to redefine who he was, not just as a player, but as a man. When historians look back on Jackie Slater, they often focus on the extraordinary fact that he played 20 seasons at one of the most punishing positions in professional sports. They talk about the durability, the technique, and the consistency. But to Jackie, the real story lived in the quiet spaces between the collisions. It lived in the moments when he stood across from opponents who represented more than just talent. They represented eras. They represented evolution. They represented threats to everything he believed about football. Lawrence Taylor forced Jackie to confront chaos. Taylor's violence and unpredictability taught him that football was not simply a game of assignments. It was a test of survival. Taylor pushed him harder than he expected, and Jackie learned that sometimes the greatest victories are not the ones captured on film, but the ones won in silence when no one celebrates the block that saved a quarterback's life. Charles Haley forced Jackie to face rage. Haley's emotional volatility challenged his calm philosophy. Jackie learned that technique could be shaken, that composure could be tested, and that some opponents were driven by forces beyond the logic of the playbook. Surviving Haley meant mastering his own heartbeat, refusing to allow chaos to reach his core. Reggie White forced Jackie to confront power. White was a force of nature, a man whose strength felt otherworldly. Jackie experienced moments where he felt the weight of 20 seasons pressing against his ribs. Yet, in those moments, he found new layers of resilience, learning that true strength is not measured by how easily you dominate, but by how fiercely you withstand. Howie Long forced Jackie to confront intelligence. Long mirrored Jackie in discipline and study. Their battles were cerebral, built on understanding rather than aggression. Jackie realized that greatness requires constant evolution. It demands thoughtfulness. It demands humility to adjust even when experience tells you that your technique is already perfect. Chris Dolman forced Jackie to confront time itself. Dolman represented the future, longer, faster, sharper. Facing him forced Jackie to acknowledge that the league was changing and that the next generation arrived with tools that pushed veterans to the edge. Jackie survived those battles, but they reminded him that even legends must eventually fade. And through all these conflicts, a deeper truth emerged. Jackie Slater's career was not defined by dominance or by numbers. It was defined by endurance. He lasted because he understood that greatness is shaped through confrontation. Every rivalry sharpened him. Every defeat humbled him. Every victory hardened his belief that consistency is the most valuable currency in a sport filled with fleeting brilliance. Off the field, Jackie carried himself with the dignity of a man who understood the responsibility of longevity. Younger players came to him for guidance. Coaches relied on his emotional steadiness. Teammates saw him not as a star seeking attention, but as a foundation holding the team together through eras of transition. Even as the Rams changed quarterbacks, coaches, and identities, Jackie remained constant an anchor in a sport where stability rarely survives more than a few seasons. His legacy lives through the rare combination of technique and character. He represented a version of football defined by quiet warriors, men who did not need theatrics or noise to announce their presence. Jackie Slater's name endures because he played the game the way it was meant to be played, with commitment, with respect, with an understanding that every snap mattered, every matchup carried weight, every season demanded sacrifice. When he finally stepped away from the field, he left behind more than statistics or highlight reels. He left behind a blueprint for longevity, a model for discipline, a reminder that true greatness is measured not by the moments when the world is watching, but by the moments when only the man inside the helmet knows the cost of the battle. The legacy of Jackie Slater is simple and profound. He survived what few could. He mastered what few understood. And he carried hidden truths that shaped him far more deeply than the Hall of Fame ring ever could. As Jackie Slater's story comes to a close, the truths he revealed leave us with questions that linger long after the final frame fades to black. His rivalries were not merely clashes between athletes. They were collisions between philosophies, discipline against chaos, intelligence against raw power, experience against the relentless push of the next generation. These hidden battles shaped the identity of one of the most enduring offensive linemen the league has ever seen. They also force us to reflect on what truly defines greatness in a sport built on conflict. Which rivalry do you believe left the deepest mark on him? Was it the fury of Charles Haley, the impossible power of Reggie White, the precision of Howie Long, or the calculated coldness of Chris Dolman? Each opponent challenged Jackie in a different way. Each one forced him to step deeper into the identity that carried him through 20 demanding seasons. And somewhere within those collisions lived the truth he carried for decades before finally choosing to share it. If this journey through his hidden truths gave you a deeper appreciation for the men who shaped football's golden age, make sure you stay connected with us. There are stories still untold, rivalries still buried in silence, and legends whose greatest battles never appeared on highlight reels. This is where those stories live. If you enjoyed uncovering the truths that defined Jackie Slater's legacy, subscribe to NFL Hidden Truths. Like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and join us as we continue to explore the secrets, conflicts, and moments that shaped the icons of football history. The golden age of the game is filled with mysteries. Together we will uncover every one of them.